Peace. I'm Anthony Ways of the Anthony Ways Show. And today we got a special guest, the warrior for the cause, the one and only, the doctor. I say that because he's my personal doctor, and he liked that. Like, you're going to enjoy the conversation the brother share with us in them spaces we need to be. Doc, introduce yourself, please.
I appreciate you. That means a lot. Much respect. You know what I mean? That's real. My name is Nikhil, Dr. Nikhil. I really go by Nikhil. Nikhil Singh Bhalla, Nikhil. And you know what I mean? It's an honor. It's a privilege to be here. I appreciate you. You know what I mean? Thank you for sharing this space. And you know what I mean? Let's get to it.
The principles that guide us here is based upon four things. Self-awareness, law, ownership, and community. So I would like you to reflect on them, and then we'll get into food deserts and stuff like that to understand, you know, what the next 5 or 10 years have to look like in order for us to be on point.
Understood. You said self-awareness,
So
law.
self-awareness, and when I say I'm gonna walk you through it. So self-awareness first. My understanding and what we yearn for in self-awareness is, who are we? Why do we think the way we think? What are we truly made of? How do we, you know, project our future and our vision of the future in such a way that we materialize it? So that self-awareness is getting rid of the old thought and the old habits that has destroyed us or hurt us as a culture, and get into new thoughts and new habits to create a better tomorrow.
That's real. Self-awareness is real. Definitely. It's stages. My first thought is that absolutely it's all about self-awareness. First of all, what is the self? What do we identify as self? The way I'm starting to see it now is that it's really one thing. Like,
Yes,
we
sir.
all connected.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And that's God. That's, you know, the one true God has many different names, many different titles, but the one true God existed before all the titles.
Yes, sir.
And that one thing exists. And like, do we identify with this flesh, with this body, with this mind, with these, you know what I mean, habits, or do we identify with the
God
whole,
energy.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Right.
call it God energy, but
Praise
to
God.
your point, the one God, that's the creator of it all.
Right, the God energy, that's exactly what it is. It's an energy, it's not a form, it's not formless, it is formless, it's timeless. So, but at the same time, we have our own individual self.
Yes.
You
And
know
now
what I
that
mean?
individual self is the manifestation of the physical self, right?
Right.
But the collective is beyond. I'd like to say, and tell me what you think about this. I call us electromagnetic beings.
Understood.
And in that space, it talks about the brain being electrified and the heart being magnetized. And when you bring the heart and the mind together, it manifests an electromagnetic force field. One would argue that's the Christ energy of the Bible, Jesus Christ. And that magnetic energy is such that it sends out vibrations and frequencies to the body, but also to other people in that space of communication that's beyond the five senses. What do you think about that?
I mean, 100%. It's on point. It also just makes sense scientifically. It's crazy when one of my brothers, he pointed out to me, like, sort of, and you know, medically speaking, like as a doctor or just science in general, we have in our heart, we have actually like nodes, like the SA node, the AV node. These are the heart centers in your heart. There's like electric impulse
Okay.
that literally exactly what you said. So the heart, literally in the center of your body, right here, right in the atrium, you have the SA node, AV node, that's sending an electrical impulse, right? That's creating your heartbeat. That's what you're checking for between life and death. When in the hospital, if you're ready to pronounce someone dead, you want to you looking to make sure they're not breathing, and then you seal the deal by getting an EKG.
Right.
So EKG is one of them tests that they put the joints on your chest.
Yeah.
What it is reading the electricity through your heart. And it's a real quick way to get a lot of information if you know how to read it about your heart. So I say that to say scientifically 100%, our heart center is electricity. And then the electromagnetic field, that's our aura. You know, in the streets, our ghosts, you know, like she digging my ghost, like that's your spirit. And then Islamically, Christian, all of the, you know, the real truth that has, you know, the nur, the light, you know what I mean? The all these different types of things, like your aura, you could see somebody, you know, they shine and people come home with that glow, you know, because they had this intense period of discipline. If they used their time right, they was over there conserving their energy, getting right. They didn't come home, you feel me, like all these different things you see the pictures in the, you know, like the historical pictures, but you know what I mean? Nah, it's a real thing for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
So now, how do we get to those spaces? Because it's true, I did close to 15 years, and my discipline, my tap-in energy was at its best. Now, when I come home, you know, you get distracted by other things, family, so forth. So, what's your advice on having that space, that discipline? Like, what's the necessary in the discipline in order to live a healthy life, to be consistent in that space?
No, that's real. So self-awareness and discipline leads to greater self-awareness. I got one of my good guys, I don't do the whole name calling thing, but one of my good guys, you know what I mean, he behind the wall right now, and I'm literally texting him, you know what I mean,
Yes,
basically saying like, what you doing in there is what I'm doing out here.
Yeah, right.
Like for real, like in a sense of that discipline.
Yes.
You know, and much respect, much love to all of the brothers that is behind the wall. Peace to every one of them. I wish them freedom. I wish them, you know what I mean, may they use their time constructively and use that discipline. And I always remember them, man, because it's like just that concept that we all striving for freedom. And I like said this bar, like you could be free in prison and you could be free and in prison.
Yes.
You know
Wow,
what I
that's
mean?
hard.
You feel me? Like realistically, we're not free if you in prison because it's not.
No,
it's deeper.
Because to your point, is a physical incarceration, so you're physically still incarcerated.
Yeah.
But the freedom is true, in that your spiritual and your mental is projected to your future, so you are free.
Okay.
So a person asked me the same. I was on a panel, and I was trying to articulate that same point, that my freedom didn't come when I was physically let out the prison. My freedom probably came 10 years before. But it materialized into a physical thing, and my five senses now, you know, experience the physical freedom. But my internal spiritual journey was where my freedom occurred at.
No, that's real, 100%. Like I feel that. Like even if I'm mentally free and I'm in bondage, I'm still not free. I'm talking about let's really get really free, all the way.
Yeah.
But these are the basic principles. So it's like a lot of us, you know, we kind of self-awareness, right? So we kind of start thinking like, okay, if I got to put myself on discipline, I'm not being free. When in reality, true freedom comes from discipline.
Okay.
It's like if you living in the moment right now and you doing what's for the moment, that's different than being in the moment. But you living for the moment, you're not living long term. You end up in a bonded state in some way. Yeah, now you like in that change of that situation. But if you give up, you feel me, you discipline, you sacrifice all these different things, you put God first, you worship, you put that discipline in, then you're gonna be able to get towards freedom.
Yes, sir.
And that's gonna build towards self-awareness. So discipline is the key that I'm learning. It's self-discipline. So now you're in a state of being in a place where you kind of forced in a way into that discipline.
Yes.
And there's less distractions.
Yes.
Right? There's certain definite hardships, and then there's definite certain things that's just off the table. You understand? Now, if you can apply that in a place where all those things are available, but that's the key, is like, you know, how really solid are you until you put to that type of test?
That's true. So you know, in certain cultures, they'll go up in the mountains, get that spiritual discipline. It don't have to be a prison. But then they come back and still have to face the reality of the culture, the shock. And now in the shock, you got to be able to tap in. So when brothers come home, I tell them, go lay down for 90 days. Because in order for your five senses to comprehend what's going on, you got to slow walk this thing. Because if you come jumping out into what you remember, living in the past, you already know what that look like.
Right. You got people hitting you up, coming back on the same type time. It's that same concept. Like, you know, they used to you moving a certain way.
Right.
They're now presenting you certain things.
Right.
And then, you know, that Satan, that that starts making sense when you down, you know what I mean? You feel like you got to
figure it out.
Right. So that concept is starting from scratch. I'm trying to like really realistically put a program together, like a you know what I mean? Like a thing for somebody starting from scratch.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you never really learned anything possibly in your life, or maybe everything you learned wasn't really right. You feel me? Or you just straight coming home, or you just down, or whatever the case may be, starting from this type of scratch. And unfortunately, the laws, man, that's a whole nother conversation.
So that's what I was going to bring that up next.
It's crazy because that's crazy. That's a crazy segue to the next.
Right.
But it's deep because it's all connected. Now these laws of the land, it's like you did your time, you come home, now you stuck with these Jones. That's on your paper. It's a whole.
Right.
But ultimately, this is true too. Whatever God got for you, no man can stop that.
No man can stop it.
Period. No matter what they try.
So there's universal God's law,
right?
And then there's man-made law.
Exactly.
We choose to surrender our energy to a man-made law as if it's God's law, and that is where failure occurs in our culture. Absolutely. So in that law space, we try to get to understanding that. What's God law? Because you can't break God's law. You only can break yourself against it. So let's tap into the God law and get a full understanding of that. And then when it comes to man law, now there go the measurement. Slavery, man law. Jim Crow, man law. Black code, man law. Redlining, man law. So the oppression occurs through the law. So this 100%. Is a space that we got to be able to understand and comprehend as in that mental space. One, not to fall into the pitfalls, but even more important, how to use it to our advantage. So, yeah, that law space.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm feeling this 100%. So God's law is the number one that supersedes everything.
Yes, sir.
And God, for whatever God's reason is, have allowed this wicked system to be at this time. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's my personal perspective. No disrespect to nobody.
No, the system is wicked. Period. Because it oppresses.
Period.
And God is for abundance. And if we ain't in an abundant place and we ain't in an oppressed place, this just by logical sense is wicked. So
period.
Continue.
Period.
Yeah.
And so it's in our spirit to want freedom. Mm-hmm. Especially certain of us that come from these warrior backgrounds.
Yes, sir.
And we really have no knowledge of the ancestry and the warrior code of conduct, the self-discipline, the eating habits, the training, martial training. Like our ancestors, my people come from a place called Punjab. Right? Punjab is a state in India, between India and Pakistan, and Pakistan, right? And we come from a history of warriors, and it's like I grew up without any knowledge of this. So I say that to say we desire freedom, right? So God's law is always superseding this law.
Yes.
At the end of the day, though, I kind of feel like it moved like if I operate in God's law, on the one hand, I'm very crystal clear. Like I could be riding home and it could mess up my whole day, year, decade, life. You know what I mean? Because they could choose to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also kind of feel like when I submit to God's law, then I feel protected.
Yes.
By whatever. And okay, now we're going back to self-awareness. What am I identifying with? My spirit. So even if they kill my flesh, not even on no tough time, like it's just like
still tapped in.
Yeah, I'm like, how could you really kill? How could you hurt me for real? Like my flesh is gone. You could put me in a cage if that's what it is. It's just that we got to move accordingly, knowing the way the law is, and knowing the way God's law is. That if you have to do something, it has to be a last resort. To whereas though if you do end up behind the wall, it has to be worth it.
Yes.
We got to make it make sense at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it's like, okay, I want to say this real quick. So we're talking about the laws. All right, living in the city we live in, right? All right, and okay, we out here in Camden, New Jersey, right? So, for example, and that's just a representative of any place. Honestly, it don't matter where you at, right? So, if you're in a situation where there's potential conflict or whatever the case may be, right? And somebody happens to violate you, right? It's a lose, lose, lose because of the law.
Yes.
Literally, it's a no-win situation. Like, either you don't do anything about it, that's a lose. You do something about it. Now all of a sudden you're an outlaw, and they don't even take no consideration into your honor and your rights. Or you tell on somebody, that's a lose. And the mentality behind that is like, for me personally, I'm not trying to, and no disrespect to anybody, please don't take it personally, but just my mentality. If I already understand your whole setup is to keep us in bondage, I'm not going, even he could be my enemy, right? I don't want to contribute to mass incarceration in any way, shape, or form.
Sure, correct.
You understand? So therefore, I got this mentality, like I don't tell on people, I just tell people. You see what I'm saying? And you could think I'm hard-headed or whatever the case may be, but I stand on it like, no, we don't do that. Like, that's not a good move. So it's a lose, lose, lose. And then if people who do go that route, they don't help you anyway. So you in a lose, and this law has no consideration. So I'm thinking about all the people that's behind the wall because they really stood on something that made sense. They protected their loved one, or they took justice into their own hands. So I'm saying that we need to take our justice, health, and our education into our own hands. So now that's talking about the laws in the self-awareness. So I feel like when you're, so when you're really more self-aware, I think a big part of how we need to build conflict resolution or just in general is consideration. So we got to really think things through to be successful at whatever we're doing. So I'm big on, before I even check somebody else, I'm going to check myself. Self-aware of what my actions are doing, what's the outcome of my actions, and can I stand on it if it goes left?
That's self-awareness.
Right, and sometimes you gotta go through it, like when you're young, you kind of just moving and you don't really know the consequences. The elders that were able to survive or whatever, they understand, like, that's a hot flame to touch.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you gotta really think things through. Like, it could go left. Like, if you ever like been around somebody, like, nah, it's, like, you think about, all right, if this happens, what you gonna do? And they're like, don't even talk like that, you being negative. That's somebody who I'm like, bro, they don't even think things through. So if it get in a jam, they not standing tall. They not standing up on nothing because they're not even ready for that.
Right, here come the other pressure that they ain't size up. And then when that pressure comes, it is a different response. People start talking about, the walls talk, I call it. People start talking about, oh man, he ain't come for me when I asked him for a cheesesteak. Like, he start making all kinds of excuses for that action. Right,
exactly. But anyone can rationalize anything.
Right.
That's the difference between,
right.
Exactly. That's the difference between men and women who stand on honor and principle. They're going to do what's right, regardless. Now, just to bring it full circle, taking these principles and applying it professionally, to school, to family, is really the whole key. To health. So let's talk about health real quick. So I understand our people, right? Me personally, I'm gonna talk about me. I don't like taking these medicines. So when a patient comes into my office, they're like, okay, I don't want to take the medicine. All right, I get it. You don't want the side effects. We don't really trust the medicine. All right, cool. So what I say is, I wish we would look at our food like that.
Ooh, that's hard. Can you repeat that?
Right.
I want to talk about food deserts and all that too, as we.
I wish we would look at our food like that. Like, I literally don't want no pills, but I'll eat a whole cheesesteak. What's the side effect of this cheesesteak? Now, getting back to how we were raised, what's accessible, what's easily accessible. Sometimes you got to go all the way. I live in North Camden, so it's literally a food desert.
Yes.
There's like
the whole city of food desert.
Yeah, East got some Jones. East got some fresh fruits and vegetables.
And
now
I
that
think that's, and I hope I don't sound like ignorant in saying this, but that's the Mexicans that zeroed in on understanding their culture. But then the next spot is on the outskirts of Fairview is a produce joint out there.
Right.
But within the Whitney Park, Parkside, Centerville, ain't nothing.
Nothing.
Food deserts.
The whole downtown for real.
So that gets us to the third principle, and maybe the fourth too, but the third principle of ownership. If we don't own it, someone else dictating what comes here.
Yes.
And then we eating these processed foods, this garbage, and it's killing us. So now, ownership becomes your first point. Self. I'm responsible. I'm the owner of this vessel, and I'm responsible how this thing moves. And then in a community space of ownership, the scripture called for us to leave an inheritance for our children's children. I tell the people, if you're working, you can't do that. And if you're working, you're building someone else's dream and destroying your own at the same time, as much as you're committed to that. So ownership is understanding that is owning who you are, your connection to God, but also let that reflect into your physical carrying out in the brick and mortars, so that we can put an end to food deserts in our community, or we can stop having to go
up the highway Route 70
to get a decent sandwich or a decent meal.
Yeah, 100%. That's real rap. I get you. Like, when you're working for someone else, you're not building your own life. You're building their life. Yes. I got you 100%. So ownership, absolutely. Ownership of everything. That's the goal. That's related to freedom, which I think is now back also to the laws.
Yes.
Because they have designed the way. All right, so the biggest business, right? My mind goes towards the drug industry. But the food and the drugs are two big businesses, and they're very similar because back in the day, right, the herbs and the plants, that's what you eat, that's what you farm, that's also all the trees, that's where the medicine comes from. So at the end of the day, the majority of these medicines have their root in some type of a pill. Like, for example, aspirin comes from the willow tree. Okay. The pharmaceutical companies have done their research and kind of put it into pills or whatever the case may be. So I say that to say, now think about the drug industry. Then you have drugs. So then you have like legal drugs and illegal drugs. But a lot of times that what you need to prescribe as a legal drug, as a prescription, is the same thing they're getting on the streets. Which is all nasty now. It's crazy. It's all fentanyl, which is now mixed with horse tranquilizer. Wow. I mean, it's like for real, like I'm really out here trying to really help, so I'm very understand what's going on. It's not, so there's no more heroin. Right. It's done. That's back in the day. It's all fentanyl mixed with trank, which is now crocodile, which is like basically makes your skin look like crocodile. Wow. It's like on, you know what I mean? It's fentanyl and tranquilizer, horse tranquilizer, right? Xylazine. It's like a. So I say that to say, understood, that's a pain reliever though. There's a lot of people with pain. What I'm trying to get to is the concept of ownership and how the laws are really preventing us from being having ownership in a certain way. Simultaneously though, with the right discipline, the right self-awareness, we don't even have to really worry too much about what they're doing. We could do it the right way to where as though we really maintain ownership, create the right, create the right type of education. Respect, and shout out to the school, you know what I mean? It's like, I see what you're doing with that concept, educating, choosing the right path, making the right career path, and basically maintain and becoming owners of these different businesses. So I'm like telling the people as a doctor, okay, she's like a 19-year-old, depression, anxiety, I need a behavioral therapist, but there's none that understands me. Okay, well then maybe you need to become the therapist you never met. No, like for real, like why don't you become, help heal yourself. I became the doctor I never met. You become the teacher that you never met. Become the store owner that you never met. So I mean, understanding that there's a whole reason why is the way it is, understood. So self-awareness, you understand why. Before you even understand why, you just know what's going on. Something ain't right. So then you got to figure out a way to try to make a way for yourself, self-awareness, back to the discipline of putting that pain in, and then become those things that we feel as though we're missing. And then that's where ownership comes in. But now you can't just step outside and become the boss.
Not dictating, not exploiting people, like removing that negative in capitalism. We ain't even, that is definitely out. But in that space of, I have a talent, I'm gonna produce this talent, and I'm gonna produce a product or service for the world, and then put your price on it. And now to those that help you, so be it. They co-owners or you know, co-comrades in building forward, but not exploiting, not taking advantage of someone and giving them $10 when they doing $100 worth of work. So exploitation is definitely removed from the ownership concept that we speak of. And now in the three things that we did talk about, self-awareness, law, and ownership, it always was about the self. And the fourth one is community, and that's understanding the totality of self, and then how do you service, you know, each one teach one. What I want for myself, I want for my brother.
This is deep. This is real. Everything you saying is definitely real. So you talking about exploitation. That's real. We want to take away exploitation. But granted, no matter where you really come from, there will be people who will try to do for self, whose self-awareness is centered on them and what's best for them, and they're selfish, and that's how they operate, and they will try to exploit, whether it's in, never mind color, never mind where you from, never mind anything, it's just human beings, right? So we have to understand that there will be people like that around us, even our own loved ones. And that's where conflict comes in. Anytime you building something, right? First of all, there's an inner conflict you got to bring peace to, and really you got to be a warrior and fight through in order to bring that self-discipline, right? So like that, like I can just imagine, because I know what I've been through, and I can understand that you talked about when you freed yourself years before you touched down, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of pain that you put in. There's a lot of, you fought a war, a crazy battle after battle, right? And that inner conflict, bringing peace to that. And then we trying to build, then there's conflict that comes from those who are trying to exploit. So then we have to deal with that according to God's law. It's deep, it's real. Like, we really born into religions telling us that like righteous people don't ever resolve conflict.
Right. What?
That's kind of weird. Like,
that's weird, very weird. And it took away the thought process. It took away that internal self-examination. Like, it always postponed to some heavenly place, as if the heaven energy ain't within. Right. So is the tap into. So marrying the mind and the heart is the goal in my mind. So it was said this way: if my mind is saying I'm $100 million guy, but my heart is saying you're a poor, impoverished kid from Camden, they go to conflict. And with the conflict and this disconnection comes disease when we argue, right?
100%.
So marrying that truth, the mind and the heart, in that space of oneness, in that God space, and then interact with the rest of the world according to that truth, I find that space of peace in where the journey takes me as I ask questions in my life. Connect the heart, connect the mind, be at peace, and then do as others as you want done it to yourself, or treat your brothers as you should be treated.
I recognize truth in 100% of what you're saying. So you're saying connect the heart and the mind. This is the concept of yoga.
Okay.
Yoga means union. That's what it literally means. And there was the ancient Vedas. They had a system of knowledge of exactly how to do it.
Right.
Ancient African, all the different type of African civilizations, they had a step-by-step guide of how to actually do it, which is what I want to get to now, the actual true solution to doing it.
So
we're identifying problems, but I want to identify problems and come with solutions.
How we get there.
So let's say this first. So the first concept is, so the heart, we say, is really like our soul, right? And then our mind and the physical. So there's three worlds. There's the physical world, the mind, and the soul. Is that right?
I got you. Yes, sir.
All right. Then when I was building with what my brothers like about self-awareness, we was talking about, okay, what is the self, right? What it consists of the human being? I'm gonna bring a quick rundown because what he said makes sense. My brother Imani, actually you met him down in Florida.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
The boy, shout out to him, man.
Yeah, salute.
No, you know what I mean? I was building with him one time.
I was in my party and part. I was in my party zone, but the brother would stand up and treated us courtly. So salute you.
Yeah,
I hope to see you soon again too.
Yeah, that's my bro. That's my bro for sure. Like, he's a real good brother. So we was building, and this came from there. It was one of them things. It was like a realization, so it stuck with me. So the question is, what is the human body made of? I'm gonna talk fast just to get it out. So basically, we came to this understanding. You have the physical body and the emotion. The emotional body is in a way connected to the physical body, right? You feel emotion, you have a physical response.
Yes.
Then you have the mind. Then you have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Then the subconscious mind can be like, okay, things you were taught, right? So if I was always told that this was wrong, subconsciously I'm gonna think it's wrong, right? So I think like my subconscious mind is like my soul, right? And all my experiences consciously get built into my subconscious, PTSD, all this anxiety, whatever. And then you have the, like what the Christians would call the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, the Ruh. The part of your soul is not really your soul. The part of your self that's really God.
Spiritual.
You feel me? The Holy Ghost, like the holy, you know what I mean? The oneness, the one that connects us all.
Everything.
This part cannot be wrong. This part is, the point is to like connect to that. So we have the physical body, the mind, and the soul, and then we have the Holy Spirit in a way that kind of makes sense to me. So we don't know really the Ruh. Islamically, they don't know what it's really made of. It's a substance that we can't, right? But the soul is like, Islamically speaking, the Quran. Like the prophet, peace be upon him, he was able to make his Quran submit to God. So like, just talking English, we gotta basically, the soul is like, in a way, our personality and our conscious mind, our subconscious mind. So we have to make decisions consciously that feed our subconscious to submit to God and understand God's law. And God's laws, the laws of the universe. It's just certain things that this is what is going on. Like if you put in work and you don't quit and you put everything into it, you either going to die or become successful.
Right. You're going to get the results, one or the other.
You got to have patience. If you eat a certain way, it's going to end up, you know what I mean? Like if you train hard, like all these different things. So hopefully we were able to paint a picture somewhat without getting too like about exactly what the human being is made of. Now, how do we, so the concept is, how do we unite the mind, heart, and the spirit into one? That's the concept. This is the goal of life. This is like Islam is the peace that you feel when you submit to God. So the quick answer is to submit to God's will.
Yes.
Now, that's a very vague in a lot of ways.
Right.
How do you do it?
What does that mean? How do you do it? The rappers is telling us, nah, you gotta go put in work and all this other stuff, and God is absent in that truth. And then you have the other side where you have the Christianity has watered down whatever I would call it Christ concept is, and so you go through the religious way. It's only going to teach you nonsense in that, you know, they used it to enslave us. They used it as
100%.
a manipulative tool. So how do you say to a brother, tap into that God energy? Because most of us ain't comprehending what we talked about even when we say that. What is a more descriptive way in your mind? You know, how do you get not a non-believer, but a non-practicing religion person to understand it's in their daily life, it's in their way?
100%. So this is what I'm promoting, this particular system. Let's get to it. So let's quickly say 2023, which religion is safe? Is really the false religion or the false version of the true religion? We're so far away from the original prophets. This is predicted by Islam.
Yes.
That near the day of judgment,
73
different sects, you know, in 72 will burn in the hellfire. For like there's 73 sects near the day of judgment, 72 will burn. And like, you know, the original version of what Jesus, peace be upon him, taught. My people, my father is Hindu, my mother is Sikh, Sikhi, Guru Nanak, and all these principles, right? You know, Buddha, we're going to respect and shout out and salute everyone and anyone who doesn't have religion, all that. So we say that to just say, all right, this is what I've come up with. And this is the program to anyone who's starting rock bottom. This is what I'm promoting.
I understand.
All right, so we're going to get to this just like this. It's about self-discipline. So I'm promoting this thing where I divide my day up into threes.
Okay.
All right. I wake up in the morning, pray if you believe in God. So I'm talking to believers, right? Yeah. But if you're not a believer, that's fine too. Respect and salute. We're all humans. We're brothers in humanity, brothers and sisters in humanity, right? But I wake up, pray, stretch. Stretching is very important. Learning how to stretch, right? So yoga is many different things, but one of them is the physical stretching, and that concept is yogic principles. But at the end of the day, stretching, learning how to stretch. You can go on YouTube, stretching for beginners, yoga classes in person, yoga routines for free. I warm up all my joints and my muscles, and I stretch. Then after I stretch, I sit for a meditation. There's not just one way to do it. What I do in the morning, I wake up, pray, stretch. I sit still in this style, posture, breathe deep. Try to see God's light, feel God's love, feel God's peace, chant God's name, God, 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 or whatever name is closest to your heart. Every time my mind runs, I come back to the name, passion, and breath, because that's what we're trying to reveal, God's love, light, and peace inside of us. And we're going to get to the Sikh philosophy in a second. We'll come back. So I wake up in the morning, pray, stretch, meditate. Just start with 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30-second prayer, 2-minute stretch, 2-minute meditation. Just consistently do it. So that's going to help you in the morning. And then that meditation is working out your mind, because we have to really control our thoughts, because our thoughts are running. Yes. We have to go through whatever, circle back to the present moment, breathe, posture, see God's light, feel God's love, feel God's peace, or at least try to remember God's name, and let's go. So in the morning, that's like training for that. Yeah. Then drink as much water as I can, get a blender, all the colors, spinach, kale, carrots, beets, blackberry, strawberry, sea moss, water, dates. You don't even have to remember, just colors. Fresh fruits, vegetables, colors. Spinach, kale, carrots, beets, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, sea moss, water, dates. Put in a blender, drink it like it's new, or just eat them. It's just a quick way, 2 minutes out the door, my breakfast, eat a healthy breakfast, then during the day. So the single most important thing I find for peace of mind is, what is my purpose? And some of us might have turned, however old we are, is a different age. You come into it realizing no one ever really talked to us about our purpose. We don't know what our purpose is. We've been led astray from what the purpose is, like you were saying, right? All these different, so what is my purpose, right? So if I don't have a job, all right, now we want to get to ownership, but you got to do what you got to do to get to what you want to do.
Yes, absolutely.
So if I'm not just going to jump off the porch and become an owner, I might have to, you know what I mean?
It starts with self.
Right.
It starts with the thought. And if you have to feed yourself through work, so be it. The end result is that you know you got a mandate to have a heritage for your children's children.
Yep. You got to put in work. If you want to be respected as a human being, whether we're talking about professionalism, we're talking about the streets, we're talking about anything in life, you're only going to be respected by the work you put in. Now, what the work is the question. That's what we got to figure out. So what is the work, the righteous means to earn? And what skills do we need to obtain that? Maybe I don't need to read. Maybe I don't need to go to school. Maybe I do need to read a lot. Maybe I do need to get a bunch of degrees, but I don't know. What is the work? What skills do I need to obtain? So how do you figure that out? You got to just look around, see different options, ask yourself, but maybe we're in a situation where we can't even think that deep right now. If we're just at rock bottom, first thing is let's get stable. So if I don't have a job, my job is to get a job. Whatever that job is, if you literally coming home, you in the streets, it's not even like a you get paid, pay taxes job. Like shout out to everybody, I pay my taxes. But I'm just saying, like, you know, you might help like my people, like, you know what I mean? I pay them a little bit. Yeah, whatever type of work to work, you know what I'm saying? Like earn honest living. So now I'm talking about God's law. Just work, right? So my job is to get a job. 9 to 5, just keep applying everywhere. And throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. Whatever job, go, show up. Now you got to be a warrior. Because a lot of times we're in our own way, right? If we so tough to do this, that, and third, why can't I look in the mirror, why can't I work a shift without complaining? And then wake up again and do it again tomorrow.
Be joyful about it.
Even, that's the goal. But even step one is, why can't I just get through the shift? Because sometimes we can't even, you know what I mean? Our minds is running. We can't even, you know what I mean? We can't even get through the shift. I'm talking about when you really been through it, and you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So step one is to get a job. If I have a job, my next job is to figure out to work as hard as I can, be joyful about it, serve God in it. Remember, do it for God's sake, not for the sake of these people, but work hard for the sake of God. Then once I have my job and I'm stable and I got my roof and my basics, all right, so now I got a job. Now next job is, okay, what's my real purpose? So I'm using this for now, and then after work, I gotta obtain the skills to see where am I going to next, right? So figure out, now you could ask people, talk to elders. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of sneaky honorable earns. You know, maybe you could go to school for 2 years, get an MA, medical assistant, nursing degree, mechanic, whatever the case may be, construction. Let's go to construction, rebuild houses, a lot of different work at the ports, whatever the case may be, just try to get a career situated job. Then you think about what's my purpose, all right? And then that's what so during the day, working hard, earn a righteous earning that you could feel good about. Then after the work, training. Like I personally believe the warrior training for our people is not optional, it's mandatory. Because our ancestors were warriors and farmers.
Yes.
You understand? This is like from Punjab, India, Hindu, Sikh, Islam, all the original Christians in Mother Africa and over there in the so-called Middle East and all that. Warriors, you know, shout out to the Mexicans, Mexico, all the Latino, you know what I mean? And shout out to the Mexicans that came and brought the fruits and vegetables. They made this city better, and I love and respect it. You know what I mean? I love, they men of honor, good people. So I say that to say training. So I'm promoting boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts. Go to a boxing gym. If you live in the city, it's a free one right on my block, 6 in Erie. There's a free boxing gym you can pull up if you live in the city, or you can learn online. Go to the park or in your room. So exercise, calisthenics, you know what I mean? So if you coming home, you know how to do them jailhouse workouts. You don't need nothing but a little space. Even when I be in my room, I be thinking like, if God forbid I was ever in that situation, I'll figure something out. You know what I mean? Them burpees and all that type of stuff. So warrior training, sharp, you know. So in this way, my whole day is focused. I wake up, pray, stretch, meditate, work hard towards righteous earn, study, learn, keep getting the skills. So then learn about this system. Learn about taxes, how to do taxes, what's a W-2 form, investment accounts, retirement accounts, bank accounts, All the stuff no one ever taught me.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. I really don't know for real, but it's a lot of it on Google and YouTube.
Yes.
Retirement accounts, investment accounts, real estate, side hustle, LLCs, businesses. You understand? So you could just learn online. Google, it's a free resource. Everything, like Wallo says, in your pocket. Shout out to Wallo, you know what I mean? Being motivational and keep it, you know what I mean? So, all right, boom, let's keep it on track. Morning, prayer, meditation, stretch, working hard, exercising, particularly the warrant training, boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, but whatever type of way to get a good sweat. So in this whole way, my day is focused. Then going close to nature when I can. Honorable and healthy decisions when it comes to our sexual health. And so we talk about brainwashed. We was brainwashed and lied to. That's deep. Like, as a bare minimum as men, you tell me if I'm wrong. A real man doesn't break trust.
Correct.
Period. If you break trust, you're not real.
Right.
Right? Especially with women. If you a man out here breaking trust with women, that's weird. Like, let's stand on that. Where's the real men that's gonna stand up and stand on that?
Understood.
Then that's a big part. Now, there's reasons why we are the way we are. You understand? And we so busy telling women about themselves, we need to really look in the mirror and stand up on certain principles. Like, so if you really real, you wouldn't break trust. So you could do what you do, just don't break trust. Simple. Like, you sneaking and lying, that's not honorable.
Right.
Period. Like, I'm saying it and I'm standing on it. That's like, if I see that your woman, your girl, your wife can't trust you.
Ain't nothing coming from that.
You feel me? I mean, I can't really trust you under certain pressure.
My understanding came from that. Came in prison through that. On the street, you know, you're running and messing with a lot of women, you're doing whatever. It's the whatever mentality. So I'm in a prison and I'm talking to a brother from the Black Panther Party and I'm asking, what destroyed us? How did that movement get crippled? Of course, he went through the FBI and all that.
Of course.
But he went through stuff first. And his point was, you say you honorable to your brothers, you won't tell on them, but would you lie to that girl? Like, it has to apply. The principle don't apply one way. It has to apply throughout.
Understood.
So that brought me to that awareness of, damn it, you know, you got to be honorable about your shit. Whatever that is, you got to be honorable about it.
No, that's real rap. Like that, like being a cheater is up there with being a rat, for real. Like, at least it should be, or in my mind, not. Now, on the same time, right, I'm here to judge nobody. Because I also get how we was raised. I understand, like, the culture. And God understands our culture and how we was raised more than anything. I'm just saying, let's establish this type of understanding, principle, this, you know what I mean, this format. And then having self-control when it comes to that is one of the secrets of the warrior. If you a boxer, they tell you don't release nothing for 90 days. Why? Because there's actually power in that. That's one of the secrets of the warrior. That's a deep conversation. But as a bare minimum, you got to have a certain understanding of your sexual health, and you got to stand on certain morals, principles, ethics, and values that make sense to you. Okay, so we said prayer, meditation, stretch, work hard, warrior training, going close to nature when I can, honorable, healthy decisions when it comes to sexual health, honorable and healthy decisions when it comes to conflict resolution skills. Meaning we're peaceful people, but at the same time we know how to draw our boundaries, right? And not overdoing it. You know, there's universal laws and principles that govern that. That's when I fell in love with Islam, because Islam taught me the way God allows us to understand war.
Yes.
That was a big part of my life, and we can get to that in a second, but that's real. So honorable and healthy conflict resolution skills, and then diet, and then art, choosing art therapy to express yourself, right? And then diet, 80% is diet. So I'm promoting fresh fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds. And then if you eat meat, I'm not here to argue or discuss like this.
Say not meat, but what about like salmon and?
Yeah, if that's what you do, I'm not here to get in the way of that. I personally don't eat it.
Okay.
I'm a vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
And when I've been fasting or whatever, I really was low-key vegan, like cutting out cheese, milk, eggs, and all that. I really don't, but I'm a vegetarian. But I say, like, if you eat meat, that's fine. Just be careful, don't fry. Learn how to bake, learn how to cook. So it's so many different types of vegetables.
What's that air fry thing about?
Yeah, I got one of them joints. Yeah, my brother got me one from bought my house. He bought, shout out to my big bro, Rock. He bought me an air fryer, and you know that's an alternative to frying. Raw though. I had one of my patients cure diabetes because he just started eating raw.
raw.
He cured diabetes. Let me be clear. What cure means. Cure means is, to me, a cure means I go back to the state as if I never had it.
Right.
I don't need any medicines anymore, and I don't have any side effects. I'm back to as if I never had it. He cured himself from diabetes with a raw diet.
So what was his diet? What that consist of? Raw
Just fresh, raw vegetables. You can learn how to cook them.
If you got diabetes and the sugar content is high, don't fruits stimulate that or something?
It depends on the fruit. If you have super uncontrolled diabetes, you want to stay away from the like the sweet fruits like mangoes and grapes and stuff. But if you have regular diabetes, there's a lot of nutrients. But for diabetes, real quick, it's basically sugars. And there's different types of sugars, refined sugars. Without the details, carbohydrates and sugars. Rice, bread, pasta.
They're the enemies, right?
Absolutely. Rice, bread, pasta, tortillas for a lot of my brothers that eat that type of stuff. And then sugar, sweets, soda. You just want to cut it out, and you can get your control with diabetes. So diet, fresh fruits, veg. There's so many different types of vegetables. Learning how to cook. I've been on my, always had a family, always had my, shout out to my family. I love my family. But for a lot of time, for whatever reasons, I was like, learning how to cook for myself, kind of. I needed to learn that. So that's a skill set that we need to learn. There's so many different types of beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, and then that's it. And your diet is not only what you're eating, it's what you're watching, it's what you're listening to. So in a nutshell, this is to me the program.
Yeah, I love it. I find it very interesting. I know some of the things I have applied. Of course, I'm gonna say it again. This is my personal doctor, so you have advised me on these things. And I took heed on most. There's still some other things I have to do. That healthy space is a space in order for us to exercise in any other area.
Yeah.
We have to be healthy. In the vegetables, when we preparing the vegetables and the fruit, the guy ate raw.
Yeah.
Share that a little more, and then how do you get after the craving's over? I'm sure there's a period when the carbs go away. You gotta cut the craving down. How do you get full off of that diet? Like how is it that?
Right, I grew up with childhood obesity, eating anything, no pics in my diet is just kind of crazy when I really look at it. So I understand like making that full transition. It wasn't a meal without meat. I would just eat hamburgers. I'm Indian, like rice and chicken makhani, chicken, meat, everything, meat, you feel me, bacon, like it just, there's regular cheese, like everything really was all completely wrong. So there's definitely going to be, again, you have to think things through, and you got to be a warrior. You got to fight against the urges, and you got to discipline your mind and make your mind stronger than your urges and your feelings. There's just no getting around that.
Yeah.
Period. Anybody who did anything successful, they know they went through those periods where they just, tighten up. How? I call on God during those moments, and just dug it out, really. There's just no getting around that. So you got to overcome the cravings, and you got to put yourself on a discipline, fasting, all these different types of things is going to help you do that. But I get full now. I realized I used to eat till I was way too full.
Okay.
And eating light, it makes me feel better, more energy. You know what I mean? You eat, you get tired, because you digesting stuff. Eating meat, you just tired, all that type of stuff. So there's a deep science behind it. But long story short, raw food, just go. I'm not here to promote any type of, just literally just common sense. Just go to your supermarket, and every vegetable you see in the supermarket, you should learn how to cook and don't overcook. In fact, don't even really cook too much of it. Okay. And then I got the Indian spices that I get from the Indian market. You gotta learn your spices, less salt, and then you just gotta learn how to cook good. And you could try different things. YouTube, Instagram have a bunch of recipes, vegan, shout out to the Rastaman down Jamaica. They know how to cook and eat ital, meaning vital nutrients, food. And
what about herbs, ginger, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, all that. Like, do your own research on everything. I'm not here promoting no particular herbs, but absolutely, the herbs are for the healing of the earth. And, we have turmeric, all that, ginger, garlic. So quick tutorial, 30-second on how I cook Indian food, or just in general. How you cook Indian food? You cut up onions, garlic, ginger, tomatoes. Now there's a deeper science between the different onions and how it has different energies, but just for basics, right? You start from scratch. Onions, garlic, ginger, tomatoes. You just cut them up into pieces. Put it in a pot, stir fry it whatever, canola oil, okay, you want to use the different, you know what I mean, the better oils and stuff, coconut oils and all that, that's fine. So you stir fry it, and then you just add your spices to it. So I use the turmeric. I just get whatever I see in the store that looks good, you know what I mean, some type of Mexican, you know what I mean, taco seasoning, or you feel me, some whatever. I got the Indian spices I get from the Indian store, the tandoori masalas and all that, and I put it in there, and then I put a little bit of salt, not too much, and then I just, with some water, if you want, you can add a little bit of cream, fat-free cream, or you just really on your vegan and you really, you know what I mean, just water. Now this is gonna give you a whole bunch of flavor.
Right. Okay.
And you just add that to any vegetable. So you just take spinach and just throw it on top of the spinach, cook it, boom.
Gotcha.
Kale, boom. Gotcha. Eggplant, bhindi, which is like okras.
I had cooked kale the other day. I had that stuff was good. I don't know why they stopped doing that. Yeah. Like I know in our culture we do collard greens, but I don't know where we got away from the kale. The kale good. Yo.
Yeah, kale's good. Collard greens is one of the most healthy.
Yeah, I take raw collard greens and juice it. Now
that's super good for you.
I like good stuff. That's good to know.
You know, beans, and then learn how to cook beans. Yeah. You don't need a whole bunch of meat. All the different types of beans. Same thing. You take that same thing I just said, cook the beans in water, and just dump it in there, and now it tastes.
That's flavor.
That's your flavor. That's how you cook. Took cooking 101, and then doing your own thing. That's just the base, and then take it from there.
That's crazy because they the things I actually like, even if in my prior time putting it in rice and stuff, it was the tomatoes and onions and stuff that I wanted, not the rice. It's just, I put it in there because that was the meal.
Yeah.
All right, so conclude what you say. What we got to do? What's some of the things? And you know, you spit bars, bro.
Yeah.
You gonna give us one when we
100%. I'm always on deck. You know what I mean?
Let's hear something on the way out. And what do you think in conclusion?
Just a few things I want to say to conclude is so the lifestyle, right? So making your mind strong, and just putting God first, and understanding that and submitting to God's plan. And if you keep running into brick walls, just breathe, get through it, and just refocus your mind in the moment. Focus on your health, on your duties, on your responsibilities, handle conflicts in an honorable way. And I just want to shout out everybody, the whole county. I'm from the whole county, Voorhees, that's my town, Camden City out here. This is South Jersey for anybody who might not be from around here. So this is Camden County, 856. Shout out to all my people in Voorhees. Sure. Shout out to all my people in the city of Camden and every other town around 856, you know, anywhere through the whole area. Shout out to, we right across the bridge from Philly. Yeah, that's it. I got some bars on deck, you know.
Come on, let's hear something.
I said, listen.
May 21st, we having a creative summit here. Okay. South Jersey's Creative Summit, May 21st.
I mean, I'll pull up. Let's go.
But get the people.
I ain't trying to wrap your head off. I got a bunch. You feel me? But I say, listen. From the birds to the trenches through my whole county. 856 Camden County, what you know about it? Voorhees to Camden City, yeah, I'm really rounded. Got some thorough young bulls down to go about me. But I said, nah, bro, that's not how we gonna go about it. I don't wanna see you booked, I'd rather buy you books for college. Put you on a trade, teach you about a righteous earn. Put you on some game, teach you something you should learn. Yes. When you real and pray together, that's a different bond. But these demons really out here on a different time. Careful, they'll pray with you, then go kill your mom. Building with a shooter, he was going through some other shit. Told me if they shoot his brother, he gonna shoot their mother crib. I said shoot the shooter, not the mom. That's some sucker shit. Sucker shit. And how you justify that on the day of judgment? He said by his brother, he don't gotta go to heaven. What you supposed to say to that, though? I seen him banging on the book, typing gangland loyalty. Then Brody caught a body, ain't no body chipping lawyer fees. Riding through the trap, say a prayer, cause I love him. Y'all law, keep him free and safe. Only you could judge them. Always gotta stay on point just in case they try something. I ain't scared cause I know I'm harder than all of them. That's just something I don't say no. I keep it to myself. Most people not 100, so I'm keeping to myself. Keep the big one at the crib, keep the small one on myself. I'm just staying out the way, trying to make my life focused on my health. So I'm staying on my dean, living clean, that's my true wealth. I thought I had a lot of friends, that's until I needed help. They just go to the net and talk about you like it's Yelp. How's that thorough? If you listen, what that make you? More thorough that you get, the more these coward people hate you. I had to learn the difference between a hater and an enemy. Hater just don't like you, probably out of fear of jealousy. A hater gonna hate you, but an enemy is different. Enemy is plotting to attack you, that's the difference. See, mom told me something that stuck because it makes sense. It's better have a real enemy than a fake friend. I do a favor when I can. But I don't never ask for none, because I remember my bad, bro, I can't. Last time I asked for one, and ever since then, I ain't never asked again. My prayer hit different now. Fourth line of a Fatiha, because I just do for self, and I only ask God for help. I was down bad, now I'm up, so I offer help. Solid with some shooters, solid with some inmates who pray with sharp objects. Solid with some shooters and single moms from the projects. Solid with some solid people living in the burbs. I make friends with the solid people anywhere on earth.
Solid. That's hard. Did y'all hear it? And y'all, you know what? The beauty of it, y'all could go slow, because y'all need to catch everything he said. It was 100. So thank you. I enjoy, brother. It's always a pleasure.
It. Much love,
I'm
much
looking
respect.
forward to you continuously coach me in my health. Next few times y'all see me on the set, I should be slim and trim and ready to go.
Let's get right. This is what we're saying. Let's get right. Let's start training. Like,
yes, sir.
All right, conclusion, let's start training, bro.
Yeah.
Like, how we really out here, even the people that's really like outside, how we out here calling ourselves tough and we don't train? That's what I looked in the mirror and said.
Yes.
Right? I just want to leave it like this. A big part of my life was conflict and violence and whatnot. I never really chased money. I never really chased women. I changed after like being respected. And I think a lot of us was brainwashed into thinking that it means being violent.
Yeah.
Right? And so I looked in the mirror, I said, if you're so tough, right, why can't you live clean? Why can't you work hard? Why are you not training? Right? So let's start training, exercising, putting that sweat in, eating healthy, living right, working hard, and you know what I mean, worshiping God. And the best thing I could ever tell you is my whole life changed when I really looked in the mirror and I said, bro, I'm a whole fraud. Like, we really are people who love God.
Size up yourself, yeah.
You feel me? We love God, and we really out here frauding like we don't love God.
Yeah. Pretending like a motherfucker. Because somebody else said something's cool or to be righteous is not cool. And we fed into that nonsense. That's what I'm telling you, maybe about 5 years ago, and people would say love. I honestly, from spaces, would say I don't really know what that means because of the abandonment issue, right? I'm in a prison, everybody abandoned shit, so I don't know what that means. Most people fuck with me is because of that benefit, so that's the way I sized it up. And then I came across something that said, when you love God in yourself, ain't no greater love. And in that moment, it hit me, bro. I'm talking about in love. The energy is at another space. It's a freedom. It's undescribable in words, because it's, you know, what people say love to me, and I hear it, and I can't comprehend it, you know, as I interact with the world. But in them moments, you know, that I'm sitting with God and I'm just shutting down my five senses and hearing him talk, what a beautiful thing.
Praise God. Quick question. Before you felt that, did you go in an intense period of self-discipline?
Yes. You
and
have
that
to
was
have the discipline, the carry over, because you have to shut your five senses down.
Yes.
Your five senses deceive you. We know it because the sun don't rise, we go around it. We know the earth is moving, but we don't feel it. So our five senses mislead us, and we have to shut it down in order to tap into that God energy.
Let me share with you one last thing. I know we keep on, it's a deep joint, right? But in Sikh philosophy, so my people come from Punjab, Sikh religion, Sikh means student. Long story short, this philosophy is we're made of love, light, and peace. And there's 5 thieves, 5 enemies that steal
from the love, light, and peace.
That, and we can name them: anger, lust, greed, addictions, attachments, ego, and pride. These are the thieves that must be killed. So really, to be on the right path, you have to be a warrior. So no man can be my enemy, right? But these things are my enemy. But a man can be overcome.
Carry out those things.
Because he could be overcome by his enemies. So I might have to protect and defend, but I really don't have any hatred for him. I got a love for truth and justice. So yeah, you know, metal might come out, whatever the case may be, but that's according. But back to this it's really on the inner side, in the inner battle, and so we have to conquer those things to reveal the love, light, and peace. And so when we're doing that through the self-discipline, and you're overcoming these things, and that's when we follow that by that intense love. And love is not what they told us. It's not weak. The Bible tells us, right? It's not weak. It protects. You know, love will stand up out of you try to attack an animal's cub out of love, they gonna rip your head off. So that's But that's only one part of it. But love serves, helps. So you know what I mean? We like low key brainwashed about everything for real. And the real ones, bro, I have so much to say. Like the real ones that really did what they did outside, right? The real ones. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. They did what they did out of love. Like real gangster shit is off of love.
I'm telling people, like, I know some real fucking gangsters, bro.
And they got the most love.
It's out of love.
For real,
Like,
they riding their love out of love.
Somebody say something to Tom, man, fuck you, nigga. And he'll be like, all right, whatever, bro.
Yep.
And then he'll
touch one of his, though.
Person you'll say, yo, I'm gonna fuck your man around.
Done deal.
In trouble.
Period.
You in trouble. Yeah, out of love. Don't whisper the wrong words.
Nah, that's real. Look, this is another jewel to the youngins, especially the ones that's like outside and they want to get their name. Like, I get it. You want your honor intact. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's right or wrong. I'm going to say I feel it. I understood. But if you outside, you tell me if I'm wrong. You agree with this? If you really try to become that guy, when it comes to personal things, try your best to like, yeah, of course, you're going to handle business when, you know what I mean? Don't let nobody play with you. But try your best to like not necessarily fight or go to that type of violence unless it's absolutely necessary. You've literally been attacked. Try to let things slide. For real, it's crazy, right? That's not what we were taught. But when your peoples is in a situation, stand up for them every time. Everyone around you will look at you like a real
official, because that's what official.
They gonna be like you the realest ever. Yeah. Like meaning like I'm over here and whatever, and I just let it go, nobody gonna really remember that. You know what I mean? Especially if it's not someone you're gonna meet every day. Just put your ego aside, whatever the case may be. I understand. I'm not saying don't let nobody play with you. That's period, right? But if you show up for your people, they gonna look at you like you the realest ever. So that's out of love.
That's out of love, and that's what that connection of community is love.
And that's God's law. That goes back to God's law. So if you really riding on these principles with God's law, we're going to go through what we go through, but I feel like at the end of the day, God going to protect you if you really, and check your man too. Like if he really out of pocket, don't
jeopardize us. Yeah, okay, because you know how I move. Don't jeopardize us.
That's no, this is real to me. Like, all right, so if I know you like that, I should do everything I can to not get you involved.
You in them situations.
Because I love you.
Coming. Yeah, and out of love, you know I'm coming.
Period.
So don't call me unless you for real, and get for real slow.
Right, and do everything you can to avoid it. And for real, don't call nobody. Just handle yourself. Like that's how I don't really call people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But nah, that's a whole nother that we could get into. But I don't want to hold you up. But like, yo,
I think we passed our hour. What we over there? Yeah. All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Much respect, man.
Let's continue.